Now, with the National Assembly's resolution to begin impeachment proceedings delivered to the president, we go over to our correspondent at the top office on how the news has been taken by Yoon and what comes next under Prime Minister Han Duck-soo's acting presidency. Soo-young, the president released a statement about an hour after the impeachment motion passed at the National Assembly. Let's go over what he had to say and what's next for the president.
Sure, Jongmin. The president seemed to accept the National Assembly's resolution to open impeachment proceedings against him, as he acknowledged the temporary transfer of his duties to Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, who is, of course, now the acting president. And in his address to the nation, President Yoon, he reflected back on his 4 major policy reforms, his efforts to boost South Korea's export industries, and his attempts to raise South Korea's global profile as well. And he expressed concern there that his efforts might have been in vain, but he pledged to, he said that he would not give up, and this really indicates what he said before about fighting till the end, perhaps to justify his imposition of martial law.
저는 지금 잠시 멈춰 서지만 지난 2년 반 국민과 함께 걸어온 미래를 향한 여정은 결코 멈춰 서서는 안 될 것입니다. 저는 결코 포기하지 않겠습니다.
As Parliament's resolution on his impeachment was delivered to the presidential office, Yoon has lost his executive powers as of around 7:42 p.m. on Saturday. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo will now act as the country's interim leader for as long as the 180 days that the Constitutional Court could take to make a ruling on the president's impeachment. Only Yoon's title as president would be retained, as a suspended president cannot exercise any powers, including diplomatic authority, appointment or dismissal of public officials, or command of the armed forces. He cannot receive reports or give orders to public officials, such as the Prime Minister or cabinet ministers, nor can he attend National Assembly sessions. However, the president is entitled to protocol privileges, such as residing in the presidential residence, using official vehicles and aircraft, and being protected by security services. The court's ruling took 63 days for former President Roh Moo-hyun and 91 days for former President Park Geun-hye. If the court judges agree on impeachment, there will be 60 days to call a presidential election.
Now, state governance will be in the hands of Prime Minister Han. So walk us through how the system works and how Han plans to handle his role.
So shortly after the National Assembly decided on impeachment, to begin the impeachment process, Prime Minister Han Duck-soo spoke briefly with the press and pledged to do his best to fulfill his newfound duties.
I feel the weight of my duty. During this difficult time, I will put all my strength and effort into stably conducting state governance.
He gave an address a short while ago saying that he will do his utmost, coordinate with Parliament and also safeguard national security amid various domestic and external difficulties facing the country. According to insiders at the Prime Minister's office, a stable transition is expected. That's because Prime Minister Han himself, he's got relevant experience of working for a caretaker government, having served as Chief of the Office for Government Coordination under acting President Ko Gun in 2004 when former President Roh Moo-hyun was impeached. Han is expected to work from the government complex in Gwanghwamun in central Seoul rather than the Yongsan presidential office, in line with past practices. He will likely hold an emergency cabinet meeting soon as he assumes interim leadership of the country. Also, he's expected to have calls with ministers or acting ministers responsible for foreign affairs, defence and public safety, as well as the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, to issue urgent instructions regarding security and public safety. And on that note, he's also likely to hold a National Security Council meeting. The Presidential Security Service also put out an announcement saying that it's ready to assume the protection of the acting president and his spouse. The security measures for the acting president, Han Duck-soo, will be equivalent to those provided to President Yoon. The PSS added that security measures for President Yoon Suk-yeol will continue as usual, regardless of his suspension of duties.
And Soo-young, as per President Yoon, he faces impeachment and insurrection charges against him. You've been reporting that he's been preparing a legal team. What can we expect to see from him?
Sure. So as far as we've heard from President Yoon, it seems like he was anticipating and rather preferring to take on an impeachment process than resign voluntarily, as he's emphasized in his most recent speech prior to today. And he's defended his decision that imposing martial law, he said that the opposition had made it impossible for the government to function as they repeatedly tried to impeach him and members of his administration, as well as obstruct advancements on major policies. So he said he was not trying to cause insurrection, but was trying to rather defend the constitutional order from the opposition. And that's really expected to be his line of defense against the investigations on possible insurrection, as well as his impeachment case at the Constitutional Court. And there were reports earlier this week that Yoon's office had been reaching out to legal professionals in an apparent move to recruit a team of experts to defend him.
Our presidential office correspondent Oh Soo-young, thanks for the updates.